Hello and welcome everyone to my topic HR or people and culture as the driver of business agility and resilience in today's age. My name is Fabiola Eyholzer. I'm a co-founder of Just Leading Solutions, and Agile HR or people and culture has been my passion for the past 15 years. And I tell people I have the best job in the world because I get to work with amazing people and amazing companies. There's people and companies who are not afraid to challenge the status quo, to rethink the way that we are looking at the world and making the way that we work a bit better. And I like this quote here by Dr. Vivian Ming, who says, "The world is moving faster than ever before, but it has never been this slow." So that resilience that we need to build is more important than ever. And that's why it's my absolute pleasure to be part of that Resilience Week by Comparative Agility that looks into this topic from different angles to say, but what do we need to do to build that resilience so that we can thrive and succeed in this new crazy and exciting world of work? So that's why I structured my session around these three topics. So what do we mean when we talk about the revolution of work? You know, it's something that it's easy to say, but what is it really that is changing? Is it just an evolution of where we come from, or is it truly a revolution that is changing every single aspect of it? A little hint here, yes it is. So that's why we talk about this key to resilience. What does it truly take? At the end of the day, what is that core aspect that is helping us be resilient? And that leads me to the people and culture playbook. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump in and have a look at that revolution of work. So in order to understand where we are at today, we need to take a step back and look at the industrial revolutions. So with each revolution, humans have become more connected and more interdependent. But how did we really begin? So when we discovered significant sources of power, that always sparked change. So we were farming the land when we started leveraging the power of steam and water to start creating our first industrial plants or our first manufacturing sites. And that's really what we call the first industrial revolution. But from there, we continued to improve through electricity, through digitalization, and now we're in this new era where it's on the one hand those connected devices, think AI, think big data, think blockchain and all the other exciting technology stuff that leaves us to the question, but what is the next step? So what is going to spark that next revolution? And that power lies in the inclusion. So it's the power of people. And we'll talk some more about that in a minute. But what's also interesting about this is have a look at that time frame. So moving from one industrial revolution to the next, that time frame has become shorter and shorter and shorter. So in other words, when you look at that last jump, we actually have 20 years to figure out the evolution that we've taken on for more than 200 years in the past. So things are moving quickly, but that future of work is not going to emerge fully fledged overnight. All of us get to shape this. All of us are being part of that transformation, of that change. So here are a couple of things that are changing, that technology is moving ahead. So on the one hand, we talk about the fact that complex and constantly evolving work is replacing routine and repetitive work. Because when you think about routine, repetitive work, technology has already automated that. And today, it's not just about routine and repetitive work. So it's not just about work that has a script, but work in general is changing. So AI, other technology advances are really starting to change the way that we work, and that means that we are dealing with complex, constantly evolving work. Now, when we translate that to our organization, start thinking about what happens to things like job descriptions, empowerment, collaboration, our performance management system. All that depends on a script, but that script is no longer there. So that means we need to rethink the way we look at work. And of course, we also are solving unique and challenging problems. So unique and challenging problems that we've never had to solve in the past. Again, there is no script. And in order to make sure that we can actually solve those complex and challenging problems, we need to have that diversity of thought. And here is a really interesting statistic that comes out of the innovation field. So a study of the top 50 game-changing innovations over the past 100 years actually found out that nearly 80% of those changes were sparked by someone whose primary expertise was outside the field in which the innovation took place. So the example I like to use here is penicillin. So penicillin was first discovered in 1928 by Scottish bacteriologist and biologist Alexander Fleming. But it didn't really turn into that miracle drug that we know today until the early 1940s, when he partnered up with the chemist Ernst Klein. And we have tons of examples like that, where that diversity of thought is really important to continue to solve problems, continue to be innovative, because diversity of thought allows us to leverage those different skills and experiences that people bring to the table. And when we bring different skills and experiences and perspectives to the table, we get a chance to look at challenges from different angles, and that helps us to create higher value. And also that means creativity and innovation are continue to be needed, because there is no longer a script. We can no longer have an innovation and that we can run with that innovation for the next 20, 30, 40 years. Things are happening way too quickly. But in order to have creativity and innovation, we need to have learning. Because what does learning mean? Learning means taking and making sure that we understand new and complex problems, that we can tackle new information and make it work for us. And that's the same with problem solving, same with innovation. So we are looking at a new way of being creative and being innovative in organizations, and that is key. But we can only get there if we have a learning organization. And then last but not least, with that changing nature of work, it also means that change is the new constant. Things are moving very quickly, and that requires adaptability and responsiveness. In other words, it requires resilience. So because if we don't have resilience, we can't deal with those fast changes. We can't deal with having to learn and unlearn things. So what are some of the keys to resilience? And the first thing is to start understanding that what made our companies great in the 20th century is not going to make us great in this new era. So we need to completely rethink the way we look at organizations, the way we look at work, the way we look at people in those organizations and institutions. And here I always like that quote from Orhan Harari, who said, "The electric light did not come from the continuous improvement of the candle." So just continuously improving an existing process is not going to get there, because if we're improving an outdated process, it's not going to turn it into a new and winning approach. So we really need to rethink, and that's why we say it's a revolution of work, not just an evolution. And it starts and falls with that company metaphor. So what do we think about when we look at a company? So what comes to mind? And what a lot of people think about when they hear a company metaphor, they think about the company as a machine, working like a Swiss clockwork. So, and the machine, when it runs smoothly, it's a thing of beauty. Every single aspect of the machine are set up to work together, to collaborate, to meet the demands. And if every single part of the organization does what it's told to do, then the machine is going to run successfully. The machine is going to be successful. But the question is, what happens to a machine when we need changes, when parts of the machine are no longer working, or when it needs to be able to do other things? The machine comes to a standstill, either in parts or in full. We need to change things, we need to reinvent processes, we need to refactor things, and then we can launch the company again. Now, as long as we had a model in place that allowed us to then benefit from that machine for decades, it was okay to take some time out and refactor everything and rethink the way that we set up the machine. But because change is the new normal, things are happening so quickly, we no longer have the time to actually do that. That's why we need to shift from that mindset of the company as a machine to the company as an ecosystem. So an ecosystem that can spot change very quickly, that can adapt very quickly, that can move very quickly. And of course, ecosystems are more complex, are more difficult to handle than a machine. Because in a machine, everything is clear, everything is mapped out in advance. We can no longer do that. So an ecosystem is more demanding, but it's also it's a system that can actually respond and adapt to change. And the way that we are doing that in companies is we have those small interdisciplinary, empowered and aligned autonomous teams. In other words, we have those agile teams. We have interdisciplinarity, we have co-creation, co-delivery. We have continuous learning, experimentation, and exploration. Whereas in the machine, we had exploitation. So we knew what we were going to do. Let's make the maximum out of it. But here we need to maximize learning because that's how we get adaptability and resilience. And we have that customer centricity and solution culture. So in other words, technology is not just disrupting the way that we do our work. Technology is disrupting every single aspect of the organization. It's disrupting the entire DNA of the organization. And something that I think is exciting and mind-boggling is that technology is actually humanizing work. Think about that. Technology is humanizing work because for the first time ever, we actually get to focus on the type of work that only we humans can do, the type of work that humans are uniquely positioned and qualified for. So it's the type of work that requires curiosity and creativity and imagination and social and emotional intelligence. Because anything else has been automated. When you think about it, a nurse has a higher job security than a physician. So it's really tackling and changing the entire way of looking at work, defining organizations. And that also means we're moving into a new economy. So we started out in the industrial economy, we moved into the digital economy, but now we are in the human economy. So we are in the economy that really focuses on what are we people great at, what is really the thing that makes us unique and the thing that we bring to the table. And in that case, that means that people and culture, it used to be formerly known as human resources, so people and culture is the key to agility and resilience. So anything to do with HR, with leadership, with culture, all of that is going to make sure that we are a thriving organization, that we can continue to thrive in that fast-changing world of work. It ensures that we can actually leverage technology in a way that connects with our humanity. And that means also culture gets a different focus. People and culture were something that were neglected in the machine because the machine run by having everything set up and predefined, whereas here it's really people and culture that make the difference. And what I find fascinating is that the word culture comes from the Latin word cultus, which means to care. So we need to care for people, and this is no longer just a lip service from managers and executives. We truly need to walk the talk. And culture is really that conversation that we are currently not having, but it is the conversation of the next decade. So with that, let's have a look at the People and Culture Playbook. And I'm highlighting 6 different topics here. First one up, we need to hire for potential to thrive in a complex, adaptive, agile environment. Now here I'm going to introduce you to a concept that is called false friends. So it's actually from linguistics. So when you start learning a new language, you're going to come across words that are spelled the same or sound the same in your native tongue compared to the foreign language, but they have very different meanings. So, for example, the German word or the word gift in German means poison, or the word pain or pain is pain in English, but it's bread in French. So we have examples like that all across the board. And in Agile, or in this new way of working, we have some false friends as well. And one of these false friends is potential. So when we use the word potential in the old setting, in that old mindset, it means we are hiring people with the potential to thrive in a current job and potentially take the next step in a predefined career trajectory. But that's no longer what we're talking about when we use the word potential in this new world, in the world of ecosystems. Here we mean the potential to thrive in an uncertain world. Can people flex their muscles? Can they learn and unlearn things? Do they feel comfortable with the unknown? Because we don't know what's going to come, what we're going to be working on, what the solution looks like. So can people feel comfortable in that setting? Can they flex their muscles very quickly? So it's a very different way of looking at potential. Then the next one up is that we start treating everyone as a talent. So talent is a new false friend that I'm going to introduce you to. Talent in the traditional setup mean we have a select few, so a group of star players that are the best people that we have in the organization, the people who can potentially climb all the way to the top and run the organization. So our high potential, our MVPs, our most valuable players. But Agile looks at it differently. Agile says we are treating everyone as a talent because every single person comes to the table with a unique set of skills and experience and characteristics. Well, these may or may not be the skills and experiences and characteristics that you need, but that's a different story. You hired these people because you saw something in them. And we also understand that it takes different skills, different perspectives, different characteristics in order to make an organization successful. So this is not just about your star player, this is about everyone coming together, because in this new world of work, we can no longer do work by ourselves because the problems that we are trying to solve are too complex, are too new, so that we need to have that diversity of thought at the table, and we're leveraging those different skills. And we're building on those strengths. So this is not about does someone tick some boxes on a competency model or on a job description. No, this is really about the unique value that someone brings to the team. That can be someone who is the best player, but that can also be someone who takes on the uncomfortable jobs in the team and helps everyone else be successful. This can be someone who is great at spotting talent and helping everyone else be successful. So we have to really start rethinking the term talent and invest in everyone. And the investment is really that investment in continuous learning and growth. It's about a way to really amplify what people are great at so that they can continue to flex their muscles and bring their best self into the team. And investing in that continuous learning and growth is really important, because if we want to have an adaptive organization, we need to have a learning organization. We cannot have one without the others. But when you think back at what organizations often do today, when they go and get stuff, they stop the learning paths. They no longer invest in learning. But if we don't have a learning organization, we cannot manage new challenges. We cannot be creative. We cannot be innovative. So that's why that investment in continuous learning and growth is important. And that's also why you see why Agile organizations start having capacity allocation, where those people enablers are part of that conversation to say how much time do teams have to set aside in their backlog in order to invest in learning and growth, in order to invest in that resilience and in that adaptability, because without that, we can't be successful. And of course, we want to make learning fun. So how do we gamify learning? How do we invest in exploratory assignments that give people a chance to explore new roles, new ideas, new careers? And we really need to open up that mindset of a career is a linear path, aligned with our hierarchical structure, because that hierarchical structure is disappearing. So careers are going to go into so many different directions. And that is important, especially when we think back that tons of the roles that are going to emerge in the next decade or so haven't even been invented yet. We may already have nanotechnicians, but we're going to have personal memory curators and other roles that we don't know today. So we need to invest more in individuals, having those individualized growth paths, and really amp up our investment in learning and growth. And of course, it's not enough to invest in learning and growth. We also need to create great places of work, places that are inspiring and engaging for people. And of course, that doesn't mean that we just have to have foosball tables and pizza Fridays and all that fun stuff. That is not what truly makes a great place of work. And when you think about it, when you ask people about the best time they've had at work, it's usually where they worked on something challenging. You know, it wasn't the time where they just played a foosball all day long. That's not what really inspires and engages people. So how do we create those places that people feel they have that psychological safety to speak up, to be their best selves, and rally together around the things that we are changing? That purpose, that meaning in work, it is really crucial, but also challenging work. So how do we combine that? How do we make that happen so that people feel they can bring their best selves to the table, that they are inspired and engaged? And that also means we're embracing that diversity of thought to increase innovation capability. So we already talked about the importance of that. And especially innovation and resilience go hand in hand, because they are both building on the ability to adapt, to change, to learn new things, to unlearn things. So if we want to be innovative and adaptive, we need to be resilient, and vice versa. If we want to be resilient, that is going to help us with innovation. And then last but not least, we also need to understand and leverage team dynamics. So this is not just about having ticking all those boxes and seeing that people bring the right skills and experiences and degrees to the table, but does it also fit? And you see that in sports over and over again. So you can have teams that come together that all have the right skills, but it doesn't click. So we are not seeing them really bringing out the best in each other. So we need to pay attention to that as well. So how are we really understanding and leveraging those team dynamics so that we can accelerate performance? And this is not about performance management in the traditional sense, where we set goals at the beginning of the year and then we check in, did you do it in the right way? This is really about accelerating that value contribution. And here I can introduce you to another false friend, that word performance. So performance in the traditional sense means task completion and compliance. We told you what to do. Let's have a look at the end of the year or at the end of the performance period to see, did you actually do what you were told to do? But that's no longer what we're talking about when we talk about performance. Performance in this new world of work means collaborative value contribution. So you're contributing to the value that we're creating. So all of that is really changing up, mixing up that mindset, changing what we are doing. And with that, we also know that we need to build an environment where we see that change is a chance, it's not a threat, it's not a risk. And when we go back to the machine metaphor, change is something bad because it means the machine is no longer working. We need to stop it, we need to change it. But here change is just the normal way of doing things. So, and change is a chance. It's a chance to explore new things, to flex our muscles, to do things. But that also means change is for the brave. So this is not just about, trying to improve what we've done in the past. No, this is about having the courage to really rethink the way that we're doing things. It's about rethinking the way we look at organizations, the way we look at people, the way we believe we can motivate people and collaborate with people. And that is not always easy, because we have to tap right deep into our mindset to really rethink some of the fundamentals that made organizations great over the past 100, 120 years, and rethink that. and that's not easy. So the question here for you is, well, are you brave enough to actually shape the future? Are you brave enough to create an environment that helps us be resilient, that helps us thrive in those fast-changing world of works, in a world where things are happening very quickly, where we have to pivot very quickly, where we have to create those learning organizations, where we have to focus on people and culture? I hope you are, because it's an exciting, brave new world out there, and we all get to shape it. And that the reason why you're here at the Resilience Week is because you are interested in doing this. So bring that courage, continue with that courage to really leverage the way that we're doing things. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to your questions.